Hey, did you know you only need 4 strumming patterns to play through most songs? Here they are. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's really it. I'll show you how to play those 4 patterns, and really they're pretty easy. The trick is I'll show you also when you should use them. That's the difference between someone who just memorizes a bunch of patterns and someone who actually knows how to play rhythm guitar confidently. So let's get started. The first pattern is pretty straightforward. It's just down, down, up, down, down, up. Very repetitive. I'll play this on a G chord for you. It's really just that simple, that short, short, long pattern that gets repeated over and over. And that's really the trick. When we play any rhythm pattern, what we're doing is we're separating longer notes from shorter notes. So every time we play that down, down, up, down, that downstroke that gets the longer time, that's an important or more stressed beat. Really all the shorter notes, the down-ups that lead into it, are kind of building momentum up to that note. And so we can lean in a little bit to those longer notes, and we can sort of relax a little bit and just sort of push through those faster notes. So again, it actually gets you practicing something pretty important really early on, which is the idea that not every strum you play is equally important, and this is an easy way to practice that. It also builds up a good technical habit for you, which is that a lot of times when we try to play something fast, we add too much stress to that. We tend to tense up when we play faster, but because we're deliberately kind of pushing through those faster notes and leading to the longer notes, it makes you want to relax through them, which is, as I said, just a good habit to get in general. So when I play my pattern, you can even physically, you saw me moving with my head, lean into it. You can make smaller, more relaxed strokes with the faster down ups that lead into it. You might also notice that I'm not using a pick when I play. It doesn't matter, you can use a pick or not. If you happen to want to use your fingers like I am, I'm using my middle nail to almost flick out on the way down, and then my thumbnail to kind of flick up on the way back. This pattern is really helpful for doing a sort of driving momentum where you need to keep having that regular steady pulse. If you do this fast, this works for a lot of dance beats where you might have a consistent bass drum that's going on. That helps out a lot there. This also works even slower if you've got a strong accent on beat 1 and 3 in your measure. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Again, you see 2 and 4 and are the fast notes that are leading to 1 and 3. Beat 1 and beat 3 is really what you're headed toward. And it's one of 2 main kind of, let's say, rock strumming patterns that we tend to use. The second one is this second pattern. There's a few different things that happen in here, but you'll notice we went down, 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 up, down, up. So we still have some combination of long strokes and short strokes, but those shorts have all been pushed to the end. Beats 1 and 2 both get a long attack. Long, long, short, 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 short. And that's really important. We want to bring out both beat 1 and beat 2 in different ways. This pattern works really well when you have, if you were to say, listen to the drum, and you've got a kick on beat 1 and a snare 2, that kick, snare sort of sound. That's another really common thing that you'll hear in rock, and this is the guitar equivalent of doing that. You'll notice actually, even as I played, that for that first stroke, the one that's supposed to go kind of with the bass drum, so to speak, I'm really just hitting the low strings. It doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, that doesn't need to be that specific. The point is that I'm getting a low sound, followed by a high sound on beat 2. So again, that sort of mimics the kick and snare. If you really want to, you can even palm mute that low bass note. And you can get even more of that kind of accent. This is one of the ways that we kind of think of the guitar as an extension of the drum kit. Anytime you're strumming, you need to really be attentive to what a drummer's doing. And in fact, I think this matters a lot. If you're listening to, say, a song that doesn't even have a guitar part, or it has a guitar part that you can't really discern really well, it doesn't matter. You can make up your own, and it should be based on what the drum is doing at that time. This is the way that we would listen for that. So again, back to that idea of 1 and 2 being low and high. Same thing with that high stroke. It can be 1, 2, 3 strings, doesn't matter. Just separate the sound of low and high. And then really those last 4 strokes, the 3 and 4 and that kind of lead us back into beat 1, they don't matter that much. You could play them pretty quietly or softly. You don't even need to hit all of the strings as you go through. As long as you hear something in that time, that's fine. You're not trying to give a ton of sound there. You're really just trying to build momentum again. It's really important to just make that beat 2 explode like that snare sound. For this reason, you also hear it a lot in folk music, usually with some kind of faster version of the strumming. A lot of times, it's a popular thing now in a lot of folk music. I think Mumford & Sons was one of the groups that really made it popular in the early to mid 2000s. I don't even know what we call that now. But anyway, having that idea of that explosive beat 2 is super important. And anything that happens after that kind of doesn't matter. One thing that we do sometimes if you really want to continue bringing out that sound of the kick and the snare is to continue accenting beat 4 again, even though it's in the middle of a pattern. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that downstroke on beat 4. I'm gonna hit that really hard once more. And so again, this is gonna be important anytime you need to emulate that kick snare, or you want that kind of folk sound. But the whole point is bringing out beats 1 and 2, and it's really good for letting you practice that kind of differentiated strum, where sometimes I'm hitting low on purpose, sometimes I'm hitting high on purpose. But I mentioned this is used sometimes in folk, and so is the third strumming pattern. We use this one a lot. This one's slightly different. Our pattern is down, down, up, up, down, up. And this is a really good one to practice because it's the first one that has you on purpose skip a downstroke. Down, down, up. There should be a downstroke right there. And in fact, your hand should still make that movement. Anytime we do a strumming pattern, you want to make sure that your hand continues to move nonstop. This is different from if you were, say, bowing a classical string instrument like a violin or a viola where your bow might stop. On guitar, we don't want the hand to. There's a few reasons for that. One of them is stopping the momentum is just going to feel and sound awkward. It takes more energy then and can sound a little bit pushed when you kind of jerk the hand back up after a stop. It's also really important just because it's going to help internalize your own rhythm. If you've ever had the problem where you're speeding up, you're slowing down, or you're just getting off from other musicians, sometimes you're just not syncing up with the overall pulse, and this will help with it. If you have an easy time doing this pattern, that down, down, up, down, up, great. But honestly, a lot of people have trouble with it, and that's fine. It's because of the missed downstroke. If that's the case for you, here's what I'd recommend doing. First, stop on the upstroke that comes before your rest. In other words, down, down, up, and then I just stop. Down, down, up. That should be pretty easy and pretty sensible. And now add one more stroke, which is the fake downstroke. In other words, your hand is still going to move down even though you're not playing it. Down, down, up. Right there, when that starts to feel comfortable, you're probably going to be in a good place where you can continue the stroke on after that. Anytime you have a mistake or anytime you have something that feels awkward, it's kind of important to break it up, make sure you identify the exact moment where you're having trouble, and then try to put that in isolation and address it so that you start to feel more comfortable. But our pattern here, that down, down, up, down, up, it does something else, which is that rhythmically, in the first two patterns, we've only brought out actual main beats. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. This is different because we're actually bringing out a syncopation. That means we're bringing out one of the up beats, something in between. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and. So we've got that strong accent on an upstroke. Down, down, up, down, up. That can feel a little bit weird if you're not used to it. So in the same way, you might stop on that upstroke and really make sure that you're hitting it harder than you think, because you want to bring out that note. Again, it's one of those long notes that everything else leads to. We want it to be important. You hear this kind of pattern in a lot of places. One of the songs I always think of when I hear this pattern, if I strip it down a little bit, I'm not going to play all those strokes, is actually in All of Me by John Legend. If I were to play. Again, hear the rhythm, that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And something interesting happens. So we started with a kind of busier pattern, that down, down, up, down, up, and that was pattern 3 of 4. I told you you only had to learn 4. Well, we're going to learn a bonus pattern, and I'll show you why I don't count it as a separate one. It's in the same kind of rhythm family, I think. And what we're doing here is, if we strip down the pattern like I did, where you're just playing the important notes, the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I fingerpicked those, but if I were strumming them, I could do two things. I could either go down, up, down, which is fine. You notice that my hand keeps moving. That sometimes feels kind of awkward. You might be really inclined to go down, down, down. That usually just feels more natural, and that's fine. We should do that. The problem that comes in is, what if I wanted to fill that pattern back in? In other words, what if I wanted to add in every other beat? I'm going to run into a problem. Because I put a downstroke on the and of 2, 1 and 2 and. If I were to keep alternating the way I usually would, I'd go down, up, down, down, and I've got 2 downstrokes in a row. It feels really awkward because I'm used to just continuing that alternation. I just told you how important it is to keep your hand moving at all times. In this one kind of situation, what we actually do is we cheat that a little bit. We're going to allow ourselves to have that almost stutter stroke, where we have the 2 downs in a row, because it's going to help us feel the beat better. It's going to help us feel those accents more. But there's a trick we need to do. We're really dividing this pattern now up into a group of 3, a group of 3, and a group of 2. In other words, like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That was down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And in the last downstroke of each group of 3, the down, up, down, right there, I'm just going to do a mini or half downstroke so that I can leave it right away and prep my hand for the next main downstroke. Watch really closely. I'll try to exaggerate it. Down, up, down, bounce. Down, up, down, down, up. Could you tell in the 3rd and the 6th strums I did, both of them were the down at the end of their group of 3. I really just kind of did a half stroke and immediately bounced back up. One more time. And that's how we tend to get through that kind of strum. If you speed it up, you can get a lot more energy. We get that kind of pattern showing up a lot in music. And it's also just really good practice because it's going to get you organizing yourself mentally in a group of 3 and a group of 2. It's kind of challenging sometimes to feel that syncopation if you're not used to it. Sometimes if you've mastered that and you want a more advanced version of it, we also sometimes hear that same pattern done, but instead of a group of 3, 3, 2, it's kind of twice as long. And instead of 2 groups of 3 and 1 group of 2, it's 4 groups of 3 and 2 groups of 2, like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's not something that you need to practice. It's a little bit less common, but I think it is still something that is worth working on if you're enjoying this. By the way, if you are enjoying this, first, would you leave me a comment and tell me what's a song that you're working on, and can you tell which sort of family of rhythms that this might fall into? I also wanted to mention, I've used this term a couple times, rhythm families. I really think that based on when the accents are that you're bringing out certain notes, you can kind of substitute any different strumming patterns that are like each other as long as they have the same accented point. I'm working on a workbook right now to give you that will show all of that and help you work through lots of variations of strumming patterns. If it's live, when this video goes live, you'll be able to find the link down in the description. If not, would you consider joining even just the free tier of my Patreon or maybe my mailing list, and I would be happy to send you a notification when that workbook comes out. I hope it'll be helpful. Speaking of rhythm families, we have one more to cover. That's the fourth and final strumming pattern, strumming family. All of these so far that we've done have been when our song is in 4/4 beats in a measure. This next family works when you're either in 3 or 6. For what we're doing, there's not really a difference. Technically in music there is, but it doesn't matter here. 3, we usually just think in 3 when we're going slower, and we usually think in 6 when we're going faster. It's a little bit cheating, but it's kind of how it works. And all I need to do is bring out beat 1, or if I'm thinking of a 6/8 measure, it's just 2 groups of 3. I'll show you what I mean. 1, 2, and 3, and... It's very simple. Down, down, up, down, up. Beat 1 is just a downstroke. Beats 2 and 3 are down, up, down, up. Why? They're just building momentum back to beat 1. This is the most common way we deal with a measure that's in 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, sometimes if we're in 6, we tend to just do a faster version of 2 3s back to back. And that's it. It's not really much different from our first pattern. It's just making sure that you're keeping track of 3 beats instead of 4 beats. But I'm not exaggerating at all when I tell you that if you can play these 4 rhythm families, okay, I know I added a 5th strumming pattern, that's fine, that was a bonus. But if you can play those, you can play tons, hundreds, even thousands of songs, and that's not an exaggeration. But if I'm really honest, you should not be memorizing rhythm patterns at all. What you should be doing is learning how rhythms work. And that's why I made this video right here. It's a deep dive. It shows you how guitarists really think about rhythm, especially, like I mentioned, as an extension of the drum kit. If you watch this masterclass video, you will have a deep understanding of how to write your own parts for any song you run into. So I'll see you there.